Two highly intelligent investors can look at the exact same market data and make completely opposite choices. One buys, the other sells. Depending on their personal history and time horizon, both can be right. They aren't viewing math. They are viewing the world through the lens of their unique experience. We try to treat money like a physics problem, a perfectly logical spreadsheet that will map flawlessly to the future. But spreadsheets don't feel fear or doubt. The moment real-world stress hits, cold logic tends to shatter against the weight of human emotion. Intellectual brilliance is rarely the only factor in extreme success. Bill Gates is undeniably a master of strategy and discipline. But in the early 1970s, Gates happened to attend one of the only high schools in America with a computer terminal. That accidental advantage gave him thousands of hours of practice before the world had ever seen a keyboard. It was a 1 in a million stroke of luck. His close friend, Ken Evans, was equally brilliant and shared that same obsession with computing. But Kent died in a mountaineering accident before finishing high school. Two massive intellects met two opposing, uncontrollable forces, extreme luck on one side and extreme risk on the other. Because financial outcomes are so heavily skewed by forces outside our control, aiming to be coldly rational usually backfires. Instead of perfecting the math, we have to diagnose the psychological blind spots that actually dictate our decisions. We often fall for the man-in-the-car paradox. When you see someone drive past in a Ferrari, you assume everyone is admiring the driver. In reality, onlookers are ignoring the person at the wheel. They are simply picturing themselves driving the car. Modern hyperconnectivity turns this into a game with no ceiling. You buy a nicer house, scroll through social media, and immediately feel behind because someone else bought a bigger one. Higher incomes often just lead to higher benchmarks of envy. We judge wealth by what we see, but true wealth is invisible. It consists of the financial assets that have not yet been converted into stuff. It is the luxury car you didn't buy and the exotic vacation you skipped. This creates a hard truth for the ego. Spending money to look rich is the fastest way to ensure you actually have less of it. Optimized financial plans look great on a screen, but your spreadsheet doesn't get laid off, and it doesn't feel panic during a downturn. A plan that only works when you are calm will fail the moment the world gets loud and your emotions take over. Surviving a market drop requires a psychological reframe. Instead of seeing volatility as a fine for a mistake, see it as a fee. It is the unavoidable price of admission required to reach the long-term gains on the other side. Between 2002 and 2018, Netflix returned over 35,000%. Yet, it spent 94% of those years trading below its previous all-time high. To win, investors had to pay that emotional fee of near-constant discomfort. Attempting to avoid short-term pain usually means paying double in the long run, through missed gains and costly panic. Our brains are wired to overreact to loud, pessimistic events. A market crash makes instant headlines, while the powerful force of compounding happens too slowly and quietly to notice. Most market wealth is actually driven by tail events. In any given portfolio, you don't need a high win rate. You just need to stay in the game long enough to catch the tiny fraction of rare, breakout successes that do all the heavy lifting. Warren Buffett's fortune is the ultimate example. While he is worth billions, 95% of that wealth accumulated after his 65th birthday. He has owned hundreds of stocks over 8 decades, but his legendary wealth comes from just 10 specific tail event successes. Massive gains require rare events and extreme amounts of time. This makes your primary goal survival, staying in the market long enough for the math of compounding to finally take over. Getting rich and staying rich require opposite skills. Getting rich takes extreme boldness and risk. Staying rich takes humility and paranoid caution. Survival requires a margin of safety. You must be optimistic about the next 20 years while preparing for the next 20 days to be total chaos. History is full of economic shocks that wipe out those with no room for error. When catastrophe hits, those who only played offense are the first to disappear. This is why savings shouldn't always have a goal. Your savings rate is simply the gap between your ego and your income. The wider that gap, the more breathing room you have when life changes. In 1981, social scientist Angus Campbell found that a sense of control over one's life is the single most dependable predictor of well-being. By maintaining that gap between what you earn and what you spend, you secure the ability to decide exactly what you do with your morning. Financial mastery happens at the intersection of mathematical patience and psychological restraint. By prioritizing a margin of safety and refusing to chase the social mirage, you earn the highest dividend money can pay.